was the real person and support to achieve a great success on our academic event. Welcome you, sir. Next, I extend my heartily welcome to our secretary, Dr. Shubha ma'am, who plays important role in her each and every moment. Welcome you, ma'am. On behalf of Department of Commerce, I extend my warm welcome to our chief guest, Dr. Ajay B. Gadicha. Welcome, user.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
This is a great time to greet Dr. Umarani ma'am and Dr. Anbuchalvi ma'am organize this FDP. My glad welcome to all the participant faculty members and research scholars. I feel so happy to welcome you all. I am extremely happy to provide to introduce the most respectful chief guest of today faculty development program, Dr. Ajay B. Gadicha. Currently, currently, Sir working has head artificial intelligence and data science. PR Port Patel College of Engineering and Management, Amravati. Sir has completed Doctor of Science in Computer Science and Engineering, and he has done her postdoctoral research in Deccan University, Australia. Sir has completed PhD in Computer Science and Engineering from San H. Baba Amaravati. Sir has 13 years of experience in teaching and research field. Sir published 75 research papers in national and international journals and conferences. He published 2 books and 4 chapters in Scopus Index books. Right now, Sir have 30 patents and 15 copyrights. Dr. Ajay B. Jadeja got recognized and honored from Honorable Deputy CM of Maharashtra. Sir has served as member and reviewer books of various national and international bodies. Sir has been awarded Best Young Researcher Award in 2017 at Tamil Nadu and Best Researcher Award 2019 from Vivekananda College of Arts and Science for Women, Tiruchenkodu, Tamil Nadu. A day is not sufficient to read out about SAS profile. So we are delighted to have an eminent guest speaker, Dr. Ajay Gadicha, sir. The platform is yours, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you for your kind words.
Thank you, sir.
First and foremost, it's my gratitude towards the organizing team and gratitude towards the Adhyaman Arts and Science College for Women who have given me the opportunity to discuss my views on manuscript preparation for the reputed journal. My special thanks and gratitude to Dr. Uma Rani Madam, who is she's a program organizer for 1 week FDP from research to publication, scheduled from 4th of September to 11th of September. And if I'm not wrong, this is the fourth day that we are going to be a part or witness of this program, this wonderful program that Dr. Uma Rani Madam has organized. I also congratulate to the entire team of Dr. Uma Rani Madam for their continuous effort towards the success of this program. So first I share my screen so that it will be useful for all the participants. Uh, uh, can you please check whether my screen is visible?
Yes, sir, it's visible, sir.
That's great. Thank you, ma'am. So let's get started with the topic called how to write a scientific research paper. We know that this is a proud moment for any academician if you are publishing your paper to any reputed international publisher. It may be IEEE, it may be Elsevier, it may be Springer, it may be some else like Web of Science, Clarivate, PubMed, and so on. So it's an golden opportunity to every individual to get published their work in some reputed article or reputed publisher. Now, in this particular session, we are going to be tackle the situation how to write a scientific research paper. Not only we are going to be focused on the scientific research paper, but we are deft get into the red of finding out what are the probable challenges and requisition accumulation inside the review paper, article paper, research paper, and some more surveys, questionnaires, and so on. So let's get started with this beautiful diagram that we already knows that once your paper is being ready, then the reviewers are ready to cut down that particular paper, or maybe they will reject your paper, or they were ready. You will get it from the figure itself that one fellow is having some notes in their hand and their paper is ready, and there's the reviewers are on their way to cut down and try to finding out the more sort of result analysis into or result analytics into the paper. Once the review process has been done successfully, then your paper will be accepted. You can saw at the last we have this paper acceptance field. So how this paper acceptance field will activated once you are done with the entire process of review. This review process is not too simple, even though some of the publisher, maybe Elsevier or IEEE or Scopus or maybe the Springer, they have very rigorous process of review. So what we can, try to accomplish this task. So we have to be very conscious. We have to be very concentrate on the work which we are going to be write a research paper which we are going to be write it through the research paper. Now what are the basic component we required so that we can channelize the thing, so that we can write the research paper very smoothly, so that the reviewers can also give the positive note, so that the reviewer can get the positive comment on my research paper and my paper get published very significantly, or maybe the article get successfully accepted. Now the question arises, what are the mechanism of this review and how we can overcome this particular sort of mechanism. So next target is peer review process. What exactly the peer review process is all about, like what are the roles of these reviewers and how we can overcome the role of reviewer, or what mechanism or what point I need to be include in my research paper so that the reviewer get minimum sort of chances to reject my paper. Finally, ultimately, being as an academician, being as a researcher, being as a scientist, our job is to get my paper published in reputed journal. So how it become possible? If you can mandatorily follow this review process, then your paper get published flawlessly, tirelessly, effortlessly. What is the first step of doing this? Step number one, the author write and submit the article to the manuscript to the journal. Now this step is very important, guys. Step number one, if you have any sort of idea through which you need to write any research paper, then identify the journal. Unless or until if you are not identifying the journal in which journal I need to publish, then it's very difficult to write, because once you're done with the significant partner, then the journal finding the journal is the upper, and they will write the reason as your paper is not fitting with the scope of the journal. Okay, now the step one is important. So how we can do this particular activity? I show you live demonstration how you can do this particular activity, that finding the journals. Okay, Give me a moment. I can share my screen again. I will let you know how to find the journals. I hope that my screen is visible.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir, it's visible.
Okay. Now, I immediately jump onto the website called journalfinder.lzvr.com. Now, let's take an example. I prepared my research paper on image processing. Okay. And now I need to finding out the various journal with the keyword called image processing, or maybe any keyword you want to be put over here. If anybody from your side, from audience, if you are doing your research, you let me know your keyword so that I can find the right journal on the right platform. So this is the lzware website through which you can find out your choice of journal in which you are doing the research. Okay, so from the audience, you may let me know any keyword so that I can find it on the journal website of LZWare. Anyone?
Yes, sir.
Are you getting my point? We are
Yeah,
finding
yes,
the
sir.
journal. We are finding the journal with our area of interest. So from your side, anyone who can let me know the area of interest so that I can find the right journal for my research.
Sir, ELT, sir. English language
ELT,
teaching.
that stands for
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. English language teaching.
English language teaching. So let's find this journal which merely relates to this particular keyword. Ma'am, you can find a single journal is available called Computer Aided Design and Application. They can accept the publication towards English language teaching. I taken the another example. Okay, maybe by search using the keyword, I can type over here, say I can do the research in the field of image processing. If I said find the journal related to my article, if I'm doing the research in image processing, so LZWare journal says that we have signal processing, image communication, journal of visual communication and image representation, medical image analysis. So these are all the reputed journals. I'm not talking about the clone journals or pedantry journals which are, you know, not in a way of understanding what happening at the back end. So this keyword will gives me the authentic journals, and these are all the Scopus Index Q1 category journals. So you do not need to worry about their impact factor, their position into the Scopus databases, and their quartile ratio called Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4, and so on. So this is one of the way of finding the right journal on the right platform. For example, if I'm doing the research in the field of artificial intelligence, okay, so just I need to type the keyword, say artificial intelligence, and click on find journal. You came to know that all the journals related to this elsewhere will populate it, like artificial intelligence in medicine, artificial intelligence, artificial in geospace, geoscience, and so on. Okay, so these are the kind of a journal which is suggested by Journal Finder. Okay, another website is called as Springer Nature. These are the Springer website. Okay, it's journalsuggester.springer.com, through which you can get more information that what are the journal associated with the Springer. Now here you can get the two option. Option number one is A to Z list of journal, and option number two is search by keyword. By any means of these option you can search the content. Okay, I can choose the first option called A to Z list. If you go over here, plenty of research journals you may find starting with the alphabet A to alphabet Z. For example, if I write over here, say machine learning, and I want to check this journal list in the Springer, So this will gives you the result, like International Journal of Machine Learning and Cybernetics, Machine Learning, Autonomous Intelligence System, Advances in Computer, International Journal of Information Technology. So what exactly they will give me the output as a prediction, like this machine learning keyword is applicable to these sort of journals, and these are all the authentic journals. These are not the clone journals. These are not the patriotic journals. These are all the authentic journals. Scopus Index, some of them are SCI as well. Okay, if you can saw over here, they will identify the 6 English journal as well. Okay, so you may get the more information related to these sort of mechanism, like discipline, which discipline from, like if you want to go for the mathematics, then you may put the journal called Sampling Theory, Signal Processing and Data Analysis. If you are belongs to maybe say some more disciplines of English, or say another disciplines of physics, chemistry and so on, then your job is very simple to do this particular task. I hope that I'm clear to every individual.
Yes, sir.
That's great. So coming to my presentation again, so this is the job which we are going to be targeted first, that author can find their journals on reputed website, that is finding the journal towards journal finder of Elsevier and Springer, that is Springer Nature, finder journalsuggester.com. So these are the couple of websites through which you can find your journal and identifying the scope of the journal and then publish it at your own rapid pace. Step number two, the journal editor send the manuscript to the expert reviewer to evaluate the quality of research and write up and conclusion. Now, once you identify your journal and submit it, so the job of editor has started. Editor will identify the number of reviewers, and once it is being located successfully, then the editor will send that manuscript to the reviewer for review purpose. Now, the reviews could be of single blind review, double blind review, three blind review, multiple blind reviews, and so on. That depending upon the journal policies and mandate and documentation what they are trying to be adopted. It's actually based on COPE, COPE. It's Consortium of Publishing Ethics, COPE. Generally, this COPE is a kind of a agency or organization that will decide how the journal review process is carried out from one end to another end. Now, identification of reviewer is done. Step number three is the expert reviewer written the manuscript to the editor with suggestions for changes, if any, or the recommendation to publish or not to publish. So here the step number three will comes across your review point related to the manuscript, whether your manuscript is perfectly drawn all the points into the sections. If it is not, then the reviewer has come up with the point like manuscript does not have so and so point, so author need to put them, and then we are considering for the publication. Step number four, editor reviews suggestion and written manuscript to author for revision. Now if there any sort of a revision expected by the reviewers and editor, then the manuscript has to be written back to the author, and author having a privilege to write again the various reviews has been given by the reviewer, corrected properly and then submitted again. Then author revise the manuscript and then resubmit it. Once you resubmit it, journal editor includes the journal issues into it, and finally the paper get published. So this is a simple procedure has to be adopted by every individual into the world or onto the planet. That what is the procedure? Basically, the question arises that how the process has been carried out. So this is a process flow that every individual has to be follow. Maybe it's an international or it's a national. So they were adopting the process in a similar way. Uh, Now, how we can define it? So a scientific research paper is a written and published report describing the original research results. What exactly the scientific writing is all about? The purpose of scientific writing is to communicate the new scientific findings. Guys, this is more important factor that you need to identify your sort of strategies. Like if you are interested, like here you have to identify the area of interest. Let's take an example. If someone is interested for doing the research in generative AI, generative artificial intelligence, someone is interested for data science, someone is interested for machine learning, someone is interested for robotics. Then they have to identify the new scientific findings, new scientific results. If you are doing the already published work, again you are publishing it, that's called as a plagiarism. And plagiarism is divided into some different parts as well. You know that various sort of plagiarism has to be, forms in case of day to day life. We know that we have a self plagiarism. Now self plagiarism means whatever be the work which you have already published, and you are again published it in some another journal by modifying your content. That's called as a self plagiarism. The content which you have already written and published in some more journals, in one of the journal, and you are publishing it some another journal again, that's called as a self plagiarism. Another entity is called as plagiarized content through different journals or different articles. So different article means you have just copy paste the data from different publisher or different author which they have already written, and you are just copy paste it in your article. That's called as a different resources of a plagiarism. Next point is called your scientific finding must be clear, simple, and well ordered so that it will be communicated very easily. Scientific writing must use the proper English, which gives the sense to fewest short words. What is the origin of scientific writing? First, knowledge is lost without writing written records. Now, what happened earlier days? We are just identifying the journal and try to finding out the basic mechanism. So they were adopting some of the journal now also adopting the mechanism of introduction, method, result, and discussion. Okay. Now earlier the journal published the descriptive papers. That's called as a review paper nowadays. That descriptive paper consisting of various case studies or case reports or geological surveys or geological reports, where lots of pages are there, like 20 to 30 pages, 30 to 35 pages, where only introduction and discussion has been there. But nowadays journal COPE, like COP, its consortium of publication ethics, has given them a appropriate guideline that follow this mechanism called introduction, method, result, and discussion. Now what exactly it is? That's I stands for introduction. That means what caution was studied, that is a problem statement. What problem statement you have studied, write down into the introduction section. Unless and until if you are not coming with the introduction section, your manuscript will not being completed. Guys, you have already gone through this process. Maximum candidate I observe in this audience are PhD, some are postdoctoral, some are PhD, some are MTech students, some are MCom student, MCA student, and so on. So at your UG level, PG level, or PhD level, you have gone through this procedure for writing the introduction part into the research paper. Now if you miss this introduction part into the research paper, it's merely very difficult to write a research paper, because we know that unless and until if you are not come up with the beautiful idea of what is the problem statement, then your paper will not being accepted with any journal. So mandatorily you have to write this section. Next is method. Method means what? How was the problem studied? Like you have come up with the data analytics, you have studied some surveys, you have some questionnaires, or what are the methods and formulations or strategies which you have adopted to write the appropriate solution. For example, a Bluetooth. So method of finding the Bluetooth is we need to do the communication between the two devices. So how we can communicate it, that is the basic problem. So we have to first write the introduction. Method, the one device has to be interconnected with another device. So problem statement is we need a certain range so that one device can interconnect it with the another device. So we have a solution, like we need to be prepared a one technical solution called Bluetooth, so that one device can transfer the data to another device. So method is called how much data has to be transferred from one device to another device. At what distance the one device has to be carried out to the another device. This is called as a method through which we can get some analytics, some statistics. Third is result. What are the findings? Okay. And discussion means what do these findings mean? whether this finding is applicable to the societal applications, whether this finding is applicable for scientific applications, whether this finding is applicable to research and development, in which areas you are working, what are the applications which are related to the discussions are more important. Organization of this scientific paper, this is most important. The most common is called IMRAD, that stands for introduction, methodology or method. Okay, this is uh, IMRAD, that stands for result and discussion. So IMRAD stands for introduction, method, result and discussion. Now if number of methods were used to achieve directly related results, then it stands for M plus R, that is experimental section. M stands for methodology, R stands for research. Now the results are so complex, then they need to be immediately discussed with R plus D, that stands for result and discussion section. What is scientific paper? So it must be first publication of your original research result. A scientific paper is a written and published report describing the original research result in a form where peers of the author can repeat the experiment and test the conclusion in a journal or other sources that will be useful. Now, what is the basic definition of the scientific research? That means that an accepted original scientific publication containing the scientific information to enable the various points. Point number one is to access the observation, because if your paper is not being observation, it does not consisting of any observation, then it could not be accepted. Then experiments evaluate the intellectual processes, must have the impact. Impact means you have to be a current recent trends related to your study, available to scientific community without restriction, available for regular screening by one or more the major recognitions or secondary services. Some important language point, like avoid the complex sentences structure. Majority of the paper I identified, when I review it na, I identified author is not correlating that stream of line with the research paper. That's why the reason behind it, the reviewers are immediately throw a rejection to the authors. Do not write any complex structure or complex sentences into the paper that leads to an rejection of the paper. Second, use simple and clear language. Communication has to be very broad approach. Like either you can do the activity once you write your research paper na, take it from the English communication teacher. He or she will gives you the clear idea that what you have written into the paper. Because ultimately we need the paper very claritively. If you are missing something, then the rejection chances is more. Always keep in mind the paragraph is the essential unit of the thought. Put them into the paragraph. What will be the idea which you have? Put them into the paragraph so that it will attract the readers. Ultimately, once you write the paper, our job is to get the maximum number of citation, because our whole world is based on Google Scholar Index, H index, I index, citation. Everyone wants more number of citation. How you can accomplish more number of citation? As you are not writing your paper very clearly, how the people will read your manuscript? So write it very claritively so that every individual can get a rush for your paper. So put them into the paragraph so that the essential unit of the thought which you have in your mind, put them into the bucket of your research paper. Everyone can get to know what exactly you have written, or what findings you have observed, what results you have getting, what research you have done. Before starting to write the paper, I must say, record your readings. If you are belongs to physics, chemistry, or history, geography, or mcom, bcom and so on, or science background, first record the reading. What other people will do, people will try to finding out the title first, then write the abstract first, then start writing some proposed work. No, it is a wrong process. First go with recording of your finding, what exactly you have done. Second process is make the tables and try to put them into the table what you have done, or maybe the possibility that some of the author has done something differently. Let's take an example. For example, if Google has launched a project called Gemini, GPT 3, or chat GPT 4 is going on. Okay, chat GPT 4 or chat GPT 3 is working. So in a very complex of this, or very competitive of this, Google has launched called Gemini, yet to be launched. At the end of the September you will find Gemini software or Gemini platform of Google. So comparatively to Chat GPT, Google has launched Bard, BARD. What they have observed? They have observed people are trying to get the more number of information from the Chat GPT, Chat GPT instead of Google itself. So they have come up with a new idea called Gemini. The new generative AI model for Google is Gemini. So they have introduced into the month of October 2023, and they first identify, they first record the readings, they have first observed the people, what people needed, what people wanted, and make them into a perfect pictorial view or analytical view, so that they came to know that what are the different drawbacks of the system, then make the table and convert them into appropriate solution, then draw the graphs that what analytics is could be, keep file to record the summaries of the result and any observation, however insignificant. Now there may be a possibility that what will be the research which you are going to be doing, put them into the table so that you came to know that what exactly happening at the back end of the system. Date the file, most important. We are doing the research, but we are not putting the date onto the file. So at the end of the research paper, what will happen now, we are forget which file I already read it and which file are yet to be read. So put them into the date of folder, prepare a folder, put the date, then you put your files into the folder so that you can remember yesterday I read all these paper, now our job is to read some more paper. Revise your reading. You may need to repeat an experiment while you study or while you still have the material. Write the ideas whenever they comes to you, like how you get the idea, because you, unless and until if you are not reading the already published article, you are not getting the new idea. If you need a new idea, you have to first read the article. Unless and until if you are not reading it now, it's very difficult. So this is the essential part of a scientific research paper. I personally belongs to that. This is the appropriate summary which I observe in my academics experience. Like I have total 13 years, so in my 13 years of experience I observe this is the appropriate way of writing the mechanism that may vary person to person, journal to journal, publisher to publisher. First and foremost, we need it called a title that describes the positive note of your journal or your research paper. So this title describes the concise, the core content of your research paper. Now, most important, the title section. Do not go with the title section at the very early stage. You first download the research paper, which is merely related to your research area. Read it very carefully. Prepare the table, prepare the charts, and try to put them a literature review first. Unless and until if you are not doing the significant literature review, your article will be imbalanced. If you want to balance your article, then do the thorough study of literature survey very deeply. And more perfection you give into the literature survey, the more clarity you will get in your topic. And the number of research paper you read it, you will get the more clarity. And more once you get the more clarity on your topic, you will leads to a new finding very easily. Next topic is called abstract. Summarize the major element of the paper. Now, what I observe in majority of cases, student, PG student, MTech student, or maybe UG student or PhD student, they will forget to write the statistics into the abstract. That how many percentage of accuracy which you got into the findings. Okay, I will show you one of the abstract as well. Majority of the student will forget to write the statistical part into the abstract. Put them into the abstract, summarize your abstract very concisely so that every individual who can learn it, they will get what exactly being there into the perception of the paper. Next is introduction. Provide the context and rationale for the study. It's sequential information which you required as far as your paper is concerned. Material, that means material, nothing but the literature survey I am talking about. Describe the experimental design so it is be reproducible. Method, describe the experimental procedures. Nowadays various tools has been there called EndNote, Mendeley. Then another tool is called mm, Zotero. So these are the tools which are available for your literature survey. Next is called method. Then results, describe the finding without interpretations. Discussion, interpret the finding of the study. Finally, it will summarize it. Do not forget to write these section called acknowledgement, like give the credit to those who have helped you, and references, list all the scientific paper, book and websites that you have visited for your finding out your paper. What exactly title is all about? A good title is defined as a fewest possible words that adequately describe the content of the paper. You have to set the article, you have to set the title of the article in such a way that from the article itself, from the title itself, will get the adequate information related to your article. The, the title is extremely important and must be chosen with the great care. It will be read by the thousands because, as you can find, I just put a keyword onto the journal finding websites. I could not write anything. So in a similar way, people will find out with the keywords. So you have to put them, you have to put the keyword in such a way that it must be catchy title to the author's eye. If you put any title whatsoever which is not relevant, you are not getting maximum number of citations. So our target is to get the maximum number of citation through H index to I index or maybe go Scopus indexing. So you require the appropriate, adequately described title so that every individual get a catchy title on the search engines. Indexing and abstracting of the paper depend upon the accuracy of the title. It's more important. That I already talking about. Indexing and the abstracting of your paper is based on this title section. Title should neither be too short, it's neither be long, has to be meaningless. Waste words like study on, investigation on, and these are some of the words which are not fit to the title section. Like syntax, like word order, it must be very carefully considered. It should contain the keywords that reflect the content of the paper. It should be meaningful and not general one. It should be concise, specific, and informative, and it should capture the fundamental nature of the experiment and finding. For example, action of antibiotic on bacteria. This is one of the title. Okay. Now action should be like define, antibiotic should be listed, bacteria should be listed, and so on. Another title is called mechanism of suppression of non-transmission pneumonia in the mice induced by Newcastle disease virus. Another example called evaluation of methylation status of the promoter of prostate apoptosis paraphrogeny and its protein expression in Egyptian cancer patients. Another example, effect of sunlight on leaf morphology. So these are the couple of examples through which you came to know that what exactly the meaning of this title is all about. So next topic is called how to prepare the title. Make a list of most of the important keywords. Think of title that contain these words. Title could state the conclusion of the paper. Title never contain the abbreviation. Guys, remember this point, very important. Title does not contain any abbreviation like chemical formula, a proprietary name, or jargons, or etc. Rethink of a title before submitting to the paper, because your title will gives you the more statistical effect on any search on a platform of a search engine. The more catchy your title is, more indexing you are getting, more citation you are getting. Be careful of grammatical errors due to the fault word order and avoid the use of using into the title. Most important, avoid the use of using. Could not be used. Please. Abstract. An abstract can be defined as a summary of the information or a document. It is a fundamental importance that the abstract will be written clearly and very simply manner. It should be provide a brief summary of each of the main section called IMRAD. I hope so you remember. I stands for introduction, M stands for methodology, R stands for research and discussion of the paper. State the principal, objective, and scope. Describe the method used. Summarize the result. State the principal conclusion. And it is easy to write the abstract after completion of the paper. I already told you, do not write abstract hurriedly. If you do so, you must be miss something finding which you have already done. Write the abstract at the end of the paper after the conclusion so that your all the finding will be covered into the abstract part. Criteria of the abstract: it should not exceed 250 words. It should be written in one paragraph itself. These guidelines are maybe vary from publisher to publisher. Okay, it should be written in the past tense. Long words should be followed by its abbreviation. It should not cite any references. Most important, it should never give any information or conclusion and must accurate with respect to the figure quoted in the main text. Next is introduction part. I hope so everyone is getting my idea what I'm trying to be convey. Any question? Am I audible?
Yes, sir. So one question from our participant, sir. Can you explain about the blockchain technology, sir?
Blockchain technology is something quite different. In a blockchain we have a different blocks and ledgers, and that ledgers is divided into two parts called distributed ledgers and centralized ledgers. So blockchain is a very secured platform through which you can communicate or through which you can channelize your data on the internet. So application of blockchain is Bitcoin, your angel broking, transfer of your money from one account to another account. So these are the examples of a blockchain. It's a secure way of doing the transaction on the internet through blogs. This is another part of study. Any difficulty or should may I continue?
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Now in the introduction section, should answer the following questions like what was I studied? Why was this an important question? What did I know about this topic? What model I need to be test and what approach should I take this study? So these are the part has to be covered in the introduction section. So I suggested some rule for good introduction that it should be present the nature and scope of the problem, review the pertinent literature, state the method of investigation, state the principal result of the investigation, and state the principal conclusion suggested by the various results. General rules like use the present tense once you're writing your abstract or introduction. Use the active voice as much as possible. Avoid the lengthy or unfocused review of previous research. Cite the peer reviewed scientific literature. Avoid general references and define any specialized term or observation. How to write the material and method section. So to write a material and method section, it provides the full detail of the experiment, write the full detail about your experiment, what you have used, what are the mechanism you have applied, in which subject you are doing this activity, and what are the basic structures you have to be followed. Describe the experiment design in detail. Do not mix some of the results in this section and write it in a past tense itself because you have already done this result. Material could be of like it's a literature survey. Must identify accurately the experimental result, source of subject studied, human subjects for chemical use or chemical formulas. And you may go with the computer terminology as well. How to write the results? Result section is written in the past tense. It is a core or heart of the paper. It need to be clearly, simply will start it. It constitutes a new knowledge contributed to the world. The purpose of this section is to summarize and illustrate illustrate the finding in order to get the logical sequences. Method of presenting the data directly through the text or through the table or in the figure itself. So all the figure must be accomplished or accompanied by the textual presentation of the key findings. Never have a table or figure that is not mentioned in the text. What table and figures are comprises of? So tables are appropriate for the large or complicated data sets. Figures are appropriate for data set that exhibits the trends, patterns, or relationship. So try to get the more number of table or figure must be sufficiently describe the title and the caption or legends into the research paper. How to write the discussion at the end? It is the hardest section to write. Why? because its a primary purpose is to show the relationship amongst the observed facts and findings. It should end with the short summary or conclusion regarding the significance of your work and try to accomplish the entire section into this discussion part. Component of discussion is try to present the principle, relationship, and generalization shown by the result. Point out any exception or any lack of correlation. Show how your results and interpretations agree or contrast with the previous published work. Discuss the theoretical implications of your work and any possible practical application, and summarize your work with the evidences. How to start with the acknowledgement? Give thanks to all the who have supported for writing your research paper. So you must acknowledge any scientific technical help, the source of special equipment, any outsider financial assistance which you are getting from any funding agencies, and so on. Finally, at the references side, what is referencing? So referencing is a standard way of acknowledging the source of information and ideas that you have used in your document. A list of all the references used in the text must be written with any format, like here I mentioned the Howard format. You may use IEEE format, you may use Elsevier format, Springer format, uh, EAI format, and so on. Then alphabetical number system must be useful and citation order must be there. In-text citation means we are putting a square bracket at the end of the sentence. For example, if I said write 5, that means it belongs to the fifth number of research paper, okay, in alphanumeric sense. Reference list, so I show you the left reference list. This is a reference list which you have to be maintain at the end of the your research paper or at the end of your entire survey paper, and this must be there in sort of this structure. The references, maybe a PhD thesis is a science which is supposed to be present the candidate original research work. So writing this a scientific paper towards the thesis work, it's chapter by chapter dividation. So try to accomplish into the chapters so that your thesis will be a more relevantly. Ethics, rights, and permission. So be aware of the originality and copyright of your work. Do not copy anything from any sources or credit of the author. In some cases, permission are to be needed, and repetitive publication of the same data is considered a plagiarism, which we have already discussed. These are some of the references which I use for presentation. Thank you so much for listening very patiently. If you have any question, please let me know. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for taking time for our event. It's truly valuable, sir.
Thanks a
Now,
lot, ma'am. Thanks a lot.
yes, sir. Now the formal vote of thanks. Now I request C. Kokila, Assistant Professor, Department of Commerce, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Good evening, everyone. I feel extremely privileged to be able to present here on this auspicious occasion and be asked to deliver a vote of thanks on behalf of our college at today's FDP manuscript preparation for publication to reputed journals. We are immensely grateful to the management for granting us permission to organize the Enlightening FDP. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed guest speaker, Dr. Ajay B. Gadisha. Your insightful words and expertise have left a lasting impact on all of us. Thank you for sharing your valuable knowledge and inspiring us with your passion. Your presence has truly elevated our event, and we thank our participants for for joining on FDP program. We appreciate your active participation and enthusiasm throughout the session. Your presence made it a truly engaging and insightful event. Thank you, Ananda. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, and thank you every individual who have listened very patiently. Shubhratri, Shubhratri, Shubhratri. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.